Good morning, friends. My name is Pankaj Nandka. Today, I will be telling you about the basics of engineering thermodynamics. In previous lectures, I have discussed more advanced things like what is first law for flow process, what is first law for non-flow process, what is second law. Then I thought it's better to discuss the basic from where the subject originates. So, what exactly thermodynamics is? As we all know, every physical phenomena is governed by some law. So, thermodynamics is that fundamental subject which describes the laws which governs the occurrence of some physical process, and in that physical process some energy transfer or transformation takes place, and it means thermodynamics establishes the relationship between different properties of system which are being affected by these processes. You must be amazed by knowing that the laws of thermodynamics are basically based on our experiences, our observations. You cannot prove them. So, in thermodynamics, we basically study it in two forms, or this subject is basically studied like this, that it can be thought of as classical thermodynamics, and other one is statistical thermodynamics. Classical thermodynamics is also called as macroscopic thermodynamics, and statistical thermodynamics is also called as microscopic thermodynamics. Now, what is classical thermodynamics basically? In classical thermodynamics, we consider a certain finite amount of matter, and without going into the molecular details that what is happening in that depth, we study it and we come out with some result. So, what is macroscopic thermodynamics? Macroscopic thermodynamics is that branch where we study only about the matter as a whole. We do not go into details what is happening in the molecular level and that all. But whereas in microscopic thermodynamics, we move into the depth of matter. That is, what is happening in microscopic structure, what is happening there, what is happening in the molecules, how they are behaving, and then after knowing everything about them, then we sum up and then conclude something solid about that particular thing. So in this microscopic thermodynamics, we let us say of a gas, we describe it by summing up the behavior of each molecule. So macroscopic thermodynamics, we can perceive it by our human senses. The effect can be perceived by human senses. For example, we can sense the pressure, we can sense the temperature. Here, as we are talking of individual molecules, we are summing up the behavior of these all. So, some people think that these are very independent, they do not have any relation, but they have a relation. If you have a statistical theory explaining something, then that statistical theory has to be calibrated against macroscopic thermodynamics, because this is the thermodynamics which we have perceived from our senses. So this cannot be changed. So if there is any change in this theory, then that has to be calibrated against this macroscopic thermodynamics. So macroscopic thermodynamics is a classical thermodynamics which we are studying from so many years, and this can be thought of as quantum. Now in this regard, sorry, before study thermodynamics, you should know about what is system. System is that quantity of a matter or space in a region where our attention is focused. For example, if I am taking this lecture, my whole attention is on this piece of paper. So this can be my system. So system is basically categorized in two parts. One is closed and other one is open. This closed system is also called as CMS, that is control mass system, and this open system is also called as CVS, that is control volume system. Here, what is CMS? CMS means the mass is not changing at all. Mass is constant. What do I mean by this mass is constant? Means identity of mass remains fixed. It does not change. Identity of mass do not change. So if identity of mass is not changing, means everything is there, whatever is there in the system is not changing. Hence, mass will not change at all. Where in this case, open system, identity of mass changes. If this is my closed system and it is interacting with its surrounding, what is surrounding? Surrounding is that region outside the system which is bounded by a surface. The region which is not of interest to me is surrounding. The region which is interest, or the matter which is of interest, is known as system. External to that system is surrounding, and there is this system boundary. Boundary is that particular thing which divides or which separate out system from its surrounding. So if this is my closed system, so there is no mass interaction. No mass can leave, no mass can enter from this. But this system can interact with its surrounding in terms of energy. Whereas the open system, this has the privilege of mass interaction as well. Mass can interact, mass can come to the system, mass can leave the system, as well as energy can enter to the system, energy can leave the system. Now there is one misconception among students, that if mass is a constant, then that will always be a closed system. People used to say that if mass is not changing, then that is a closed system. It is wrong. Closed system means the identity of mass has to be same. And identity has nothing to do with number. For example, let us say I have a class in which 1, 2, 3 and 4 students are there in my class. And let us say they are Ram, Shyam, Kamal and Vimal. This is one opening to this and this is one closing to this. I mean to say this, from where people can enter, from here people can leave. And I have Ram, Shyam, Kamal and Vimal studying in my class. If by chance some student, let us say Raju, want to enter in this and they do not want me to know anything about, then this Ram will leave. Again, the number of students in my class will be 4 only. That means number is 4. Previously it was 4, now it is again 4. But here there is a change. In my class now, after this, Ram has left the place. Sham, this fellow, and Vimal and Raju are there in my class. But previously when I started teaching, Ram was there in class. So who is missing? Ram is missing. That means identity of the mass in this system has changed now. So this can never be a closed system. This can never be a closed system. This is an open system. Even the mass is not changing. So what is important in knowing about closed and open system? A closed system is that system or that region or area or mass of interest where the identity of mass remains same. And whereas for open system, the identity, there is no such constraint for identity to remain same. Identity can change. That simply means if identity is changing means something is coming and something is going out. That's why open. Now there is very special class for this open system which is called as isolated system. And what is this system? An isolated system is that closed system. An isolated system is that closed system where no energy interaction can take place. Where no energy interaction can take place. That simply means the identity remains same, identity of mass will remain same, as well as energy in this particular system will never change as it is not interacting with its surrounding. So, if I have a system which is not interacting with surrounding in terms of mass and energy, then that will be an isolated system. Whereas if I have a system which is interacting with its surrounding in terms of mass as well as energy, that will be open system. And if there is a system which is interacting with the surrounding only in terms of energy, then that will be closed system or control mass system. Now, let us consider one case. Let us consider a open system. Let us consider a turbine. In turbine, steam enters at some point and leave at some point. Enters at high energy, high pressure, and leaves at low pressure, and in turn provide work. So this is not important, but consider just. So to study this is what type of system? This is an open system where something is coming and something is moving out. Now in this, my region of interest is fixed one. So this is my control volume. That means volume which is controlled by me. That means that particular region of space where my interest is. And if I am saying that region of interest, if somebody is saying that or asking that region of space within a prescribed boundary, then that will always be, that means region of space within a prescribed boundary. That simply means this is an open system. This is very important. Remember it. Now, in thermodynamics, you will come across a term known as property. What is a property? Now, not only in thermodynamics, anywhere. What is a property? We used to say, this particular substance has this property, this is having this property, my television is having this property, my laptop is having this property. But what exactly property is? Property are basically the characteristics for that particular system with the help of which you can define the physical condition of that system. For example, I have a piece of cloth. This is a piece of cloth and it is wet. So how can you say that this is wet? There must be something which is telling you that this piece of cloth is wet. So that is a property of this particular cloth. What property? The amount of water in it, its wetness. That is telling you about that this piece is wet, its temperature. So properties are those characteristics with the help of which you can describe its physical condition. So, for example, my friend is not playing today. Why? He is ill. So what is the property? Is the fitness. Fitness of a person is deciding whether he will be able to play or not. So this is a property of that particular system. Those people who were standing there, among them there will be a person who is 6 feet 2 inches. So here height is a property because of which you are identifying that particular system. So properties are the characteristics of any system with the help of which you can define its physical condition. So in thermodynamics we deal with pressure, temperature, volume, internal energy, enthalpy, entropy, and lot many properties are there with the help of which we can define the state of a physical system or the characteristics of a physical system. And these all are what? These all are macroscopic in nature. At least you cannot realize this at this moment of time, but you can realize this. You can feel pressure, you can feel temperature, you can very well feel even see the volume. So these all are what? Macroscopic in nature. So these physical characteristics of this particular thermodynamic system, they are basically what? Macroscopic in nature. So what are properties? These are, if I talk of some sort of coordinates, x or y. So these are the properties which locate its position in this xy plane, x and y. Likewise, pressure, volume, and temperature. If I say this is pressure and this is volume, so if some system is at this pressure and this volume, this pressure and this volume, that means this is the state of that particular system. So properties are the coordinates to describe the state of a system simply. So how a state of a thermodynamic system is defined? A state of a thermodynamic system is defined with the help of properties. And if this thermodynamic system at this moment of time is having this state, and at some other moment of time, let us say it acquires some another state, how can we know this? With the help of properties again. Properties are changed means state of a system has changed now. We will say that this thermodynamic system has undergone a process. And in this process, it has to move from so many points. That means like this. So many state points will be getting. So change of state is that operation in which one or more of the properties of the system changes. And when this path is completely specified, we say this is a process. So change of state, successive change of states undergone by a system is known as a process. Now friends, properties are basically, if I say properties are basically divided into two categories. The first one is intensive and the second one is extensive. I will be discussing this first. What is an extensive property? Extensive property is that property. Extensive property is that property which depends on the extent of a system. That is, which depends on the amount of mass in that particular system. For example, kinetic energy. It is half mv square. Higher the mass, higher the kinetic energy of that particular system will be. For example, internal energy. The more mass in a system, the more massive the system is, the more energy that particular system acquires. And what is intensive properties? Intensive properties are those properties which are independent of the extent of a system. Extent means mass. They are independent. They are independent of mass. It is immaterial for them what is the amount of mass. For example, pressure, temperature, density, they are independent of mass. If you have a pond of water and you try to measure the density of water in the pond, and then you take one glass of water out of that pond and then try to measure the density of water, you won't be finding any difference. This is just because this density is an intensive property independent of mass. At the same time, temperature, pressure, they all are. Extensive property will be what? Volume, mass itself, energy, they all are. There are some properties per unit mass. Some property, if you have any property, let us say energy per unit mass, this is specific energy. And remember, all the specific properties, energy is a property that is extensive, and all the extensive property per unit mass, that is specific properties, they all are intensive property. All the extensive properties per unit mass, they all are intensive property. For example, let us say we know that this volume is an extensive property. This depends on the quantity of mass. If I make it extensive, divide by mass, and take a limit, this dm is tending to 0. What will happen? In turn, this will tend to 0, this will tend to 0, but this ratio will be giving you a finite value. Hence, this will become independent of mass. So this dV by dm, we all know it is specific volume or inverse of density. So specific volume or inverse of density, they are what? They are intensive properties. Now friend, in this regard, before we start studying thermodynamics in its greater depth, there is one thing which we know as equilibrium. And in thermodynamics, especially in classical thermodynamics, this equilibrium term is the term which makes a difference between two subjects, a thermodynamics and a heat transfer. In thermodynamics, you always talk of equilibrium, that this system is equilibrium with its surrounding, this system is in equilibrium with another system, like this. So what is basically the thermodynamic equilibrium we are talking of? A system is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium. A system is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium when three types of equilibrium simultaneously exists. That is, what are those three types of equilibrium? That is chemical, mechanical, and thermal. And this is a very important equilibrium to understand, but these are pretty easy. How? If a system is in equilibrium with its surrounding, and I am saying that it is in chemical equilibrium, that simply means there is no chemical reaction going on within the system or between the system and surrounding. It is as simple as such. And if I am talking of mechanical equilibrium, what do you understand by mechanical equilibrium? When a system is said to be in a equilibrium state. You have studied engineering mechanics, and in engineering mechanics, you always say, if this is in equilibrium, then sigma F has to be 0. What does this mean? This means there should not be any unbalanced force existing in the system or between the system and surrounding. So if there is no unbalanced force existing between system and surrounding or within the system, then that particular system will be called or known as in mechanical equilibrium. But what exactly thermal equilibrium is? This is a very important thing to discuss. And because thermal equilibrium, some people used to say like this, okay, if there is no change in temperature, then we will say that the system is in thermal equilibrium. But, one thing, how you define temperature? How can you define temperature? What is temperature? So this thing has to be discussed, and discussed in its full extent. So friends, so concept of thermal equilibrium has to be discussed first. Consider that I have a system A, and with this I have also a system B, and these systems are separated by a adiabatic wall. adiabatic wall. What is adiabatic wall? Is that wall which will withstand all the changes here and here, and it will not let this part to know what is happening here, or it will not let this part to know what is happening here. So it will sustain all these stresses. So this is adiabatic wall. Let us say this system is having say some thermodynamic property, let us say pressure P1 and temperature T1, and this system is having pressure P2 and temperature T2. I don't know temperature, so I will not be writing temperature. Let us say two thermodynamic properties. Let us say X1, Y1 and X2, Y2. Now, as this adiabatic wall is taking all these stresses, so it will not allow this system to make any changes on this, and at the same time this will not allow this system to create or cause any changes here. So these thermodynamic properties become independent. They can take any value whatever they want. Whereas if you consider this case, that system A and system B, now they are not separated with adiabatic wall, with a diathermic wall. Means if they have properties x1 and y1 and x2 and y2, and now they are separated with a diathermic wall, then this system whose properties are this and this system whose properties are this, they will not be independent anymore, because this will not restrict this system to change this system properties, or this system to change this system's properties. Now these systems, these properties do not have independent value. They are in, what should I say, they are restricted now. They are restricted, they are bound to take only and only certain values. Now they cannot take any independent value. So when will we say that two systems are, or system in fact is in thermal equilibrium? The equilibrium state achieved by two, even more system, or more system, characterized by restricted values of the thermodynamic properties of the system, after they have been in communication with each other through a diathermic wall, then we say that the system, so basically this is the system, this is basically the thermal equilibrium concept. That means they are in thermal equilibrium. When they attain a certain value means after a period of time they will attain a certain value, which is obviously dependent, which is a restricted value. So what is temperature? A temperature is a thermodynamic property which will tell you whether two systems are in thermal equilibrium or not. And what is thermal equilibrium? This, restricted values. So back to this. So if you have a system and it is in thermal equilibrium with its surrounding, as well as it is in thermal equilibrium with itself, then that particular system will be called as in thermal equilibrium. That means temperature of system in the system and between the system surroundings is not changing. And if all the three equilibriums exist simultaneously, then we will say that the system is in thermodynamic equilibrium. And in thermodynamics, we always talk of those systems which are in thermodynamic equilibrium. Now, before finishing today's lecture, one more thing I would like to discuss with you people, and that is Gibbs phase rule. Now, you always know that when we talk of thermodynamics, we talk of pure substances. And what are pure substances? That pure substances, those which are homogeneous in chemical composition throughout its mass. So there is one thing called as two property rule for a pure system. From where that two property rule come? We know that Gibbs phase rule says F plus P is equal to C plus 2. That is, F stands for number of independent intensive properties or simply degrees of freedom. This P stands for number of phases that system is having, and this C stands for composition. So let us say I have a pure substance, water. Water in single phase, that is, let us say liquid state. So F plus phase single liquid is equal to C, composition 1 water plus 2. So this will give me F is equal to 2. So I will be requiring two independent intensive properties to tell what is the to locate this liquid water, to tell its state. I will be requiring two independent intensive property. For example, pressure, temperature, pressure, volume, like this. And if I have a system who is occurring in two phases, for example, water, again take, but this time water plus vapors as well as. So two phases will be there. Composition again 1H2O. So I'll get F is equal to 1. F is equal to 1. That is, number of independent intensive properties required to specify this particular state is single, 1. And you all know, at 1 atmospheric pressure, you fix the boiling point, that is phase change, and that is 100 degree. Or if you have a liquid open to atmosphere at 100 degrees Celsius, you say it is boiling. So what is the pressure at that point? It is fixed. That is 1 atmosphere. So they are not independent, they are related. So in this way, this is called as two property rule. So for a pure substance in single phase, you will be requiring two independent intensive properties. Now there is one more concept, is known as concept of continuum. And what does it say? Look, all the engineering which we are doing, we always talk of continuum. We do not directly talk of continuum, but we always apply laws of nature and that all. And we always apply it onto a continuous surface. For example, if water is flowing from here to here, we say that it is filled of water completely. There is no void existing. And if at all there is a void existing, then the situation will be different. There will not be anything. So you want to apply something or some law, if there is nothing here, so how can you apply that? So we always assume matter is continuous. Everywhere matter is available in my domain. So how to decide that it is continuous? There is a number known as Knudsen number, that is lambda by L. Lambda is the mean free path of molecule and L is the characteristic dimension. So if this number is less than a certain value, like 0.01, then we will say that the matter is continuous. Or in general sense, consider we have a system and let us say this is consider a point P, which is bounded by volume delta V, and in this delta V there is a mass delta M. And you are interested in knowing what is the average density here. So the average density is delta M by delta V, and you plot this against V. So if you start from this is my full volume. So and you start reducing the volume, you won't be finding any difference in density. It will be a constant. It will look to you as constant, and it is a constant. But a certain point will come after which you will find there is a huge fluctuation in density, either decreasing or increasing. Basically, by doing this, you are doing what? You are entering into such a dimension that these molecules becomes rare in that dimension. And if let us say this is the dimension, you have 3 molecules, and if one molecule leave, the number of molecules become 2, so density reduces. And if in this case one enters, density will increase. So in engineering, we always talk of that dimension which is beyond this value, and this is known as continuous. This is known as domain of continuum. That is where continuum exists, where we have to apply our laws of nature, where we have to apply fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, heat transfer. Everything is in this domain. We do not study this domain in engineering. So friends, today till this point, I hope you have understood whatever I have discussed today. Thank you very much. If you liked my video, then please do subscribe.